Hello everybody and welcome to KDStudios A-League Rounder Reviews. I am your host Kevin and today I'll be going through all the highlights and talking points of round 1 of the 2021 A-League season. In our top story tonight, Macarthur FC both played and won their first ever A-League match. Over at Bankwest Stadium, they defeated the Western Sydney Wanderers 1-0 on Wednesday night. The winning goal was scored in the 72nd minute by Mark Milligan after a Bennett Extabaria free kick was deflected off Milligan's leg and hit the back of the net. That would be Macarthur's first ever goal, but it wasn't the first time they found the back of the net that day. Earlier in the 48th minute, Lachlan Rose thought he had scored Macarthur's first ever goal after finding the back of the net himself, but it turns out he was offside as James Meredith passed the ball to him, and the VAR overturned it. It wasn't the first time the VAR was involved in the game. Earlier on, Graham Dorrance had kicked the ball into Alexander Jovanovic, and the referee awarded a penalty to the Wanderers after deeming that Jovanovic had handballed. But after consulting with the VAR determined, most likely determined that the hand contact with the ball was accidental and not deliberate, and that's, I think, why basically the penalty wasn't actually awarded. Socceroo goalkeeper Adam Federecchi would have to save the day a couple of times after the Wanderers produced a few fast and really good shots at the goal, only to be blocked off by Federecchi, so he was probably the most influential in their win. Overall, Macarthur had a pretty good first hit out. They dominated possession, well, not dominated, but they won possession 55-45, outshot the Wanderers 20-13, and most importantly, had more goals than the Wanderers, which led them to getting all 3 of their points. I think with a lot of the players they've got, like Extabaria, Sanjar, Saseta, and with Federecchi up in the goals, that I don't expect them to win. I think it'll still be Sydney and Melbourne City, but I do expect Macarthur to play a big part in the A-League, in the upcoming A-League season. I think they'll at least make the semi-finals. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I think they've got some pretty good talent. And remember, some players which I would have thought would have been in the starting 11 started on the bench, so I think they've also got the depth. Overall, pretty good first win for Macarthur. Over in Gosford on New Year's Eve was the battle between the two Wooden Spooners contenders. Can't believe I'm saying that in round 1. Between Central Coast and Newcastle, and it was the Mariners that came out on top in their season opener thanks to Alou Kuol, who made a spectacular header, heading it just before Jack Dunkel was about to catch the ball, and headed straight into an empty net to give the Mariners a 1-0 lead, which for the 3rd straight day would be the decisive goal for the game. Apart from that, Birighitti made a couple of pretty good saves in the second half, denying Petratos and Thurgay equalisers. The Mariners showed some promise in their game against Newcastle for what is to come in the future, outshooting the Jets 18-13. And remember, it was a youngster, Alou Kuol, who scored the winning goal. And with Mark Birighitti in the goals, I think the Mariners, while they will struggle later in the season, I think they'll be showing some signs of promise and some signs of competitiveness early in the season. Over in Brisbane, at the Roar's new home ground, Redcliffe Oval, it was Melbourne City, the away team, who was able to snatch all 3 points thanks to Connor Metcalf striking in the 52nd minute. His strike hit the top right corner of the goal and would open up the scoring and prove to be the decisive goal of the game. Despite some near misses from the Brisbane Roar, in the 16th minute, Wenzel Halls came very close to opening the scores, but his strike went on skimmed the wrong side of the post, whilst the free kick taken around the 70th minute also just went over the crossbar. So it was a little unlucky for Brisbane, who posted 16 shots but could not find the goals. The biggest controversy in this game was that of Adrien Luna, who got 2 yellow cards and got sent off with the red. Earlier on, in the first incident, he tripped Joey Japness by trying to hold his stomach, while he was running, sure enough. The second one was a bit more controversial. High ball, him and another player, I don't know, couldn't see who, trying to nick at the ball. High kick, and he was sent off as a result. I'm not sure if the second one was worthy of a yellow, certainly the first, but we'll have to see there. There is a bit of an injury concern for Melbourne City. In the 61st minute, it seems that Andrew Naboot suffered a hamstring injury. We don't know the severity of it yet, but it is almost certain that he will miss the game against Adelaide. So, seems like Melbourne City will have to make at least 2 forced changes. Obviously, Naboot may not be able to play with the hamstring, and obviously Adrien Luna has to serve a 1-match suspension due to the red card. Over in Geelong, there were no goals to cheer about, but there are a couple of goal line saves. Tommy Urich nearly opens up the scores for Adelaide, only to be saved by Tomo Imai. And later on, Ben Halloran struck again, or almost struck again, only to be saved by Aaron Culver, who was facing backwards. Also, James Delianov had to clatter into the woodwork. Here, the clatter. That was to save, what was it? It was a corner. But apart from that, there was nothing really else that happened. Western United are currently missing Josh Risdon with an ankle injury. But apart from that, there's not much else to take from that game. So, over to this week's games. At 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, Wellington and Sydney will be clashing off in both of teams' season opener over at Wynn Stadium in Wollongong, which will be the new home for Wellington for the year. I reckon Sydney FC will beat Wellington, as I feel like, well, they're probably the strongest team going around. Straight after that game at 7 o'clock is Melbourne victory and Brisbane over at Amy Park. For Melbourne's first game, I reckon Melbourne, they've got a pretty good attack and they showed quite a bit of promise at basically what you call it, the AFC Champions League, and I think they'll continue displaying that form and they'll beat the Roar. On Sunday at 4 o'clock, Macarthur and Central Coast clash off in the battle of the 2 previous Matildas coaches, Stajic and Milicic. I reckon, despite the fact that Central Coast won, I reckon Macarthur, they've got more of that experience, they've got more of the flair, and I think Macarthur will get the win there over in their first ever game at Campbellton Oval. And over at Cooper Stadium, Adelaide and Melbourne City clash off at 6 o'clock. I still reckon that despite the fact that Adelaide showed quite a bit of promise against Western United, until they start scoring goals, I still reckon it will be Melbourne City taking the win out here. Over to the ladder now, it is Central Coast, who is in an unfamiliar position on top of the ladder, tied with Macarthur and Melbourne City with 3 points each and 1 goal next to their name. But Central Coast is on top because their name starts with a C. So apparently they're better than Macarthur and City because the name starts with a C. Over at the bottom, we have got Newcastle, Western Sydney and Brisbane all tied, being -1 on goal differential, whilst Adelaide and Western United are also on 1 point. So, those were the highlights of what happened in round 1 of the 2021 A-League season. Hopefully I've caught you up on your knowledge of the current state of the A-League. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Please comment your thoughts on both the video and also like how I can make this video better and how you found this video and why if I should continue the series and how. And also your thoughts on the current state of the A-League. How is it going? How was this week's games? Tell me what you think about either the A-League or its teams. Tune in to here at the conclusion of every round because this is the place where you can watch someone reviewing highlights and analysis of each A-League round for free. You don't need to get any Fox Sports subscriptions to watch A-League shows. You can come on this show for free and I will tell you everything you need to know about each A-League round. So tune in here this weekend for round 2's review and check out my other videos and I will see you at the end of round 2. Good luck for your team and I'll see you then. Bye.